And again, now we are going to have Sherry Haskins with the Riverton Branch Library from Fremont County Public Library talking about the teen fourth dimension.
Morning, everyone. All right, well, great. So it's crossover material. I consider that the fourth dimension in our YA department. And the reason I call it the fourth dimension is because, of course, we have our fiction, our nonfiction, our manga, and our graphic novels, which that's a slash in between those two. So just a quick definition of what crossover material is. Crossover material, just like you're looking at, are adult books with teen appeal and teen books with adult appeal. There's some characteristics, of crossover material that I'm going to introduce because I think it's important when you're looking at collection development or helping a teen choose a book out of your collection to know these things. And the number one obvious characteristic of crossover material is cover art. I will be giving you some examples of that cover art, but it does look, of course, more adult than it is going to with your typical YA genre or YA material. The other is subject and plot. It does feature young characters, also has plenty of adult characters. Covers a range of emotional, intellectual, and sexual territory with a degree of honesty. There's really no candy coating when you're buying an adult book that is going to be of interest for a young adult. It's demanding and sophisticated use of language. It's going to be more challenging to read that particular novel than a YA novel. So I want you to remember also, very few high schools use any young adult literature. So it's really important to have that crossover material or adult material that they're using in high schools. The books don't condescend to their readers. There's usually no moral to the story. They're speaking to the young adults as people rather than as a teenager. And let's not forget, let's give teen readers a lot of credit. They are tenacious. They have a tendency to be more patient and open-minded than their adult counterparts. So don't underestimate them as really intelligent readers. Night, I just threw that in there. I mean, it's a classic. It is a classic, and it's a classic example of crossover material. I'm not for sure how many of you are familiar with Charles Bukowski. His books and his poetry are very popular with teens, even though they're considered adult material, and so is his poetry. But it's requested quite a bit. R. Crumb has done many illustrations for Charles, and we also know that R. Crumb is one of the most well-known classic illustrators in graphic novels. And of course, this is why young people are gravitated to Charles Bukowski. And remember, this is just one example. I'm using Tales of the Madman Underground as an example of young adult that goes over to adult material. I can barely get a teenager to check this book out, even though it was a Michael Prince Award winner. But when I bring it down and put it in the adult display, that it flies off. It's a very esoteric story that takes place in just a couple years in the early 70s. I don't know too many teens that are interested in that particular decade. There may be some, but this is a great example of a YA book that does quite well in the adult department. Also, this won some awards. They called themselves the KKK. If you have that student that's looking for civil rights material for doing a report, great book. This does well in both. Holly and I will move it upstairs, that will get checked out. We'll move it downstairs to the adult department, and it will get checked out. And I also purchased this in an MP3 CD format, and it gets checked out a lot. I'm going to show you some examples of bad cover art. The Book Thief. This book was first published, it's an Australian author, it was published in Australia as an adult book. Then it came to America. I'm not for sure why we made it young adult. It's a good crossover book for both young adults and adults, but this is a bad book. Or a bad cover. Could you even begin to guess what the subject or what the plot is about with this cover? Horrible. I have to book talk this to get teens to even look at it. Here again, it's about the Holocaust. Death is one of the main characters in the story. So it has a lot of appealing aspects for teens. But because of bad cover art, I can barely get them to check it out. But we have tons of adult book clubs that are always reading the Book Thief. I'm going to show you some examples of good cover art, and these are adult books that Holly and I have purchased for the teen department because they have teen appeal to them. You can tell a great cover because it has a sense of use to it, but there's some sophistication and some adult aspects to it. Same author. There again, you would never be able to tell that this is strictly a YA book, nor could you tell that this is strictly an adult book. It has that really kind of cool feel to it. There's some variety with that cityscape sitting in the two people. Another example of great cover. This is either could go into your adult collection or your YA collection. This is a beautiful ghost story with the 14-year-old protagonist. And as you can tell by the cover of this book, it does not scream young adult. If you're choosing some adult books to go into your teen department, always go with the Alex Awards. They're given, the YALSA, ALA are the ones that pick these books. And they do a really good job. You can go to the ALA website, or you can just Google Alex Awards and you're going to find the list. And these were the 2011 winners this year. We have the Radleys. This is a bad example of bad cover art. We can barely get a teen to check it out, even though we bought it for the teen department. It's a vampire story. It's British. There's a lot of British humor in it. It's a cool story, but I really have to sell it if I want a teen to check it out. But we'll put it down in the adult department, and it gets checked out right away. So there's a good example of that switch from YA to adult. The House of Tomorrow, it has a really cool cover. Does not scream YA, even though the protagonist in it is a 15-year-old, and his best friend in the story is a 15-year-old, and the main character lives with his grandma. There's definitely a balance of teen issues and adult issues in this particular book. I'm not familiar with this Helen Grant stories. I can't tell you too much about it. It's an Alex Award. Even though it's an Alex Award, really look at the cover art because it will really determine if that material is going to get checked out in your teen department. All memoirs do well. We have a lot of adult memoirs in our teen department. Teens really gravitate towards true stories of abuse, eating disorders, suicide. They're things that either they have experienced personally or they may know of a friend who has. The Lock Artist, bad cover, but the paperback issue is coming out in June or July of this novel. Awesome cover art. And this is a great story. This is also British. of a young teen that gets in some trouble, and who he gets in trouble with, they take his skill and have him start breaking into different places using his skill as a break-in artist. I'm not for sure on the cover art on this. It's an Alex Award winner, The Boy Who Couldn't Sleep and Never Had to. I think it looks cool. I think there's a certain sophisticated appeal to it, just with that, the little hand-drawn characters, but yet it also has that adult appeal to it. There's a certain amount of maturity to it. Not familiar with this book. We have it in the adult area. I know it gets checked out down here. I haven't tried it up in the YA, but it is an Alex Award winner. Holly and I had a long discussion on this, The Particular Sadness of Lemon Cake. I didn't even order it for the adult department because, and I know what you guys are thinking, don't judge a book by its cover, but people do. And we'll see what the paperback is going to look like. I don't even know if I could get an adult to check this book out with this particular cover, unless you know the author, and I do love Amy Bender. The Reapers Are the Angels is a zombie. Of course, that would be a post-apocalyptic story. Great cover and an incredible, very cool zombie story. I don't know what it is about. 14 is the magic number this year for protagonists, but this is a female in this story, and she is incredible. My high school book discussion group or club chose this book as one of the books to read this year, and it turned out to be one of their favorite books. And then Room, I bet the majority of you have this in the adult department. It would do well in your teen department if they changed the cover art. So, but, and then these are some resources. Kirkus Review, they do strictly YA reviews, but what I like about their adult reviews is they'll tell you that this will be good for teens, good crossover material. We try to carry as many of the Pulitzer Prize winning books that we can, shelf-wise, budget-wise. Generally, in your AP English courses in high school, they are reading one of those current Pulitzer Prize. Right now, it's The Road by Cormac McCarthy. And before that, it was, oh well, I'm drawing a blank right now. National Book Awards, try to carry some of those up in your teen department. Great crossover material. Let's not forget, teens, there's still teens at 17 and 18, and we have to think about them going into those adult situations in life, and they want those adult books. And then Book List Online. Maybe some of you get the hard copy or the magazine, or you can just go to online. And what's great about Book List is after their reviews, they'll tell you if it's good for your teen department or if it's something teens would be interested in. Books made into movies. I Am Number 4, even though that is really, truly a teen book. It's going to have some adult appeal. James Frey actually wrote this book, and he's coming out with a series of books based on this story, I Am Number 4. This is The Eagle of the Ninth. It was made into a movie also. It's a trilogy. It's about the Crusades, and they were actually written in 1958, and now they've just been re-released or republished. Super popular. They were actually written for adults. They're adventure stories. Holly and I purchased this trilogy for the teens, and they were checked out immediately. But I love it that they were written in 1958, and there's great adventure stories. And ooh la la, look at that movie poster, sexy. So we'll be buying this too. Not because it's so, well, yeah, because it's sexy too. And your teen girls like sexiness also. So you want to keep that sex appeal in mind. And then the classics. Even though most of the classics were written for adults, because when they were written, there was nothing, nobody thought about teens. Teens were just adults then also. And the thing about having classics in your teen department, when that reader needs the Pearl or the Grapes of Wrath, instead of having your adult department, you want them up in the teen department. It's just another way to increase that traffic. And when you're able to put that book in that teen's hand, they're going to think that department's pretty cool. So we try to carry as many of the classics. There again, I know budget restraints and shelving restraints are an issue. Along with the classics, try to have the cliff notes that go along, and particularly all of Shakespeare's cliff notes. And there's my email. If you have any questions on crossover material, I would love to hear from you. I just want to plug, I'm going to pull up something really fast here. This book was just released today. This book is published as an adult book. And I bought it for the teen department, and I read the book, and I'm really struggling with why it was published as an adult book. It's an incredible book, and it will definitely appeal to your more mature and sophisticated teen readers. The cover is just okay, but if you read the book, you'll be able to tell that teen that's looking for a book that isn't in a series, that it's a standalone book that's excellent, good literature, a great story, all the compelling, there's some sexual plot to it. I can't say enough about it, but I do struggle with knowing why it's an adult book, because as an adult reader, but being a teen librarian, I loved it. So the other thing, I kind of lost my thought there for a moment. The other one that we want to plug, how to teach physics to your dog. Holly actually purchased this. This is one of her picks. As you can tell, Holly and I are both the teen librarians here at Riverton, and she did the graphic novel webinar last week. She convinced me that we needed this book, and she was absolutely right. And this is another perfect example of a book. We'll move it up to the teen department, it will get checked out. Then a couple months later, we'll move it down to the adult department. It's nonfiction, and it flies off the shelf anywhere in the library. It's a very cool book. The other thing, which Joey mentioned, Charlene Harris is great crossover author with her vampire series. We keep all the vampire series up in the teen area, and it's one of the coolest areas in the library because we see moms and daughters together up in that particular area checking out material. So if you haven't thought about some of those vampire paranormal series, you might want to think about plugging them into your teen department if you wanted to see parents visiting your teen department. And that's what I'm wrapping up with. And so I'm open for questions.
Great. Thank you so much, Sherry. Lots of great titles. We'll go ahead and open up to questions again. And I had a question that I'll ask while we're waiting for other questions to come in. As the funny thing was when you were talking about going upstairs and downstairs, it made me very much remember my experience long before there were these, teen sections. I have a very clear memory of the first time my library that I grew up in, the children's was downstairs and adults was upstairs. And in 8th grade, I still remember the first 2 books that I checked out from upstairs in the adult section. So certainly a lot of what we're talking about is how young adults are treated, and like you said about not being condescended to, and we're talking a lot about merchandising. So the one thing I wasn't clear about when you were talking about moving the books around between departments, are you talking just in terms of displays, or are you working with your cataloging team? Because catalogers certainly play a major role in the merchandising and circulation of our materials. If things get cataloged in what we consider to be an inappropriate place, they may never get to be checked out. So are you cataloging your items, like changing the labels on them, or are you just talking about how you display them every now and again?
Great question, Sarah. No, just display.
Okay.
That would be a lot of work.
Certainly.
Be changing it in the catalog all the time.
Certainly. So then, with that said, I'll ask specifically about the classics then. So, do you have books like Huck Finn and Catcher in the Rye cataloged in adult or cataloged in teen?
In teen.
Okay, great. Okay, so that was one of the things I found myself thinking about, because certainly the displays, and as we've talked a lot about merchandising, are to grab the folks who are walking into our doors, but then you have a lot of folks who are just looking up stuff, online and, clicking it to be put on the hold shelf before they, so they can just pick up on the way home from work. So I'm thinking about how things are classified in the catalog for that virtual user, and that can be sort of that virtual merchandising piece. If they see one of these great titles like How to Teach Physics to Your Dog, and maybe it's an adult reader and sees that it's in teen and all of a sudden feels like, oh, I shouldn't go in and check it out. So it's it's one of those things that I think is never going to be perfect, but it sounds like you're doing a good job to try and mix it up in both of your sections there.
Yeah, you're right. It will never be perfect, but it's funny how a good title and good cover art transcends that label as in the catalog, whether it's adult or teen.
Definitely. Well, we'll just give folks another minute to see if there's any questions that come through. Again, reminder that both today's webinars will be available at getonthebuswyoming.wordpress.com. Sherry's will be here under the Teen Fourth Dimension. I also, again, apologize. I was just behind the times today. I'll get Sherry's links up on this page as well. Did not get that done. And do feel free to participate in those homework questions. Again, not just to be in the running for prizes, which is certainly fun, but to just see what your colleagues out there are saying, and also feel free to comment and share other links or other titles that you like above and beyond what the little homework questions are there. With that, it doesn't look like we have any other questions coming through, so thank you very much, Sherry. And I guess that is all for today. Thank you very much for participating, everybody. Have a great day.
Thank you.